talk about something called cluster feedings. And what a cluster feeding is just as it sounds, when the feedings are occurring in clusters, or they're frequent, or they're recurrent, every hour. The baby seems to be hungry all the time. What is this cluster feeding about? And is it normal? And is it that I'm not making enough milk, and should I do something different? In an earlier video, we talked about growth spurts, and so that could be one of the reasons why your baby is cluster feeding, or feeding more frequently and seems to be draining the breast, or seems fussy at the breast and wanting to eat a lot. But this can occur actually all the time, especially in the beginning, in the first 6 weeks or 3 months of your baby's life. Babies can be very fussy, and this can happen, and typically happens in the early evening time, like around dinner time, when you all want to sit down and have dinner, and your baby wants to eat dinner constantly, and they're cluster feeding, and they just seem to go back to the breast over and over and over again. This fussy period is very normal in newborns, and especially in those first 3 months. There's a few things that are going on. One is that it could be that your baby is just trying to get a little bit more milk at that time. It seems to be the time of day when your milk supply is actually lower than at other times of day. And you'll probably notice that first thing in the morning you have a lot more milk, and then as the day goes on, your milk supply does decrease. That's a hormonal effect of it, and it's actually a very normal situation. But typically what I think is more going on is that the baby is pretty tired from the entire day, and it just happens to be their what we call witching hour, or fussy time in the early evening, and they just want to keep coming back and back and back to the breast. There is not a lot you can do except get through this period of time when they want to do that, and really give in to your baby's needs at that point. I think getting support, getting help when you know this is happening at a certain time. With my daughter, it used to be exactly at 7 o'clock every night. It was just this fussy time she would go through. She'd go to the breast, she'd eat for a minute, she'd scream, she'd come off. I couldn't figure out what was going on. She'd eat again, she'd come off. And it was just about getting to know that this is normal, and this too shall pass, that we would get through this phase. The worst thing that I could have done at that point, or for any of us to do at that point when our babies are in a cluster mode, or cluster feeding and fussy, is to supplement, and to think that we're just not making enough, or thinking if we fill them up with formula that somehow it's going to stop this, or that they're going to sleep better. We see that this is actually not the case anyway, and it's just going to interfere with your overall milk supply, and possibly interfere with your breastfeeding experience in general. So I just want to explain that cluster feeding is normal, whether it's through a growth spurt or through their fussy newborn phase. Babies go through phases through the entire year of breastfeeding, and clustering is one of them. I hope this helps, so that you know that you're not alone, and that it's completely normal. And good luck.